Morning, welcome to North Country MFG. We got a new project in the shop. It's for a local snowmobile club up here in New Hampshire. A club just picked up a brand new to them 2000 Tucker 1000, which is out here. Quite the beast. Then then to put something behind it, they had to buy a new drag. So they bought this. Please excuse the mess in the shop. It's been real busy lately. But it's a brand new, what is this? SNO-PAC MT4DT. Looks like a nice little drag. The problem they noticed when they dropped it off yesterday was the hitch height compared to the new Tucker they have. Well, they also have another Tucker, but they noticed the hitch height was a little high. So it looks like they're going to have me modify this hitch so it's up about 6 to 7 inches higher, which I'm planning to do with an angle, is what we all agreed on. I had their club members give me a consensus what they'd like to see. The other thing that's going to be getting done is there's going to be a brush cutter put onto this side of the drag. They had talked about putting one on this side, so that way you'd have one drag has a cutter on the right side, another one has the left side, so if you send both groomers out, they cut both sides of the trail. And they talked to the rep for the brush cutters, and they really did not like that idea because apparently if you're going down the trail, you're supposed to be on the right side of the trail. Well, that puts your passing traffic right by this super sharp brush cutter bar, so they elected not to do that. So now they just have, they're going to have the brush cutter on the right side or passenger side of the vehicle. I'm going to have to build up mounts because it's too wide to fit theirs, and they don't want it sticking out past the outside rail, so that way it doesn't rub on trees or catch trees, damage trees on landowners' property. Makes plenty of sense. But yeah, so that's going to be today's project. We're going to start working on this. It's definitely not going to be done today, but what I did for this is I measured from the front of the hitch to where they were suggesting bending it and used my CAD system and the 3D printer to take and make this fancy little angle jig here. They told me they wanted to raise it 6 to 7 inches. They wanted to bend it right about here. So that comes out to about 18.5 degrees. So I made this little wedge with a center line mark, modeled it up last night with the angle that I want. So now I should be able to measure back 16 inches from front to this center line. Take an edge and mark both sides. Cut this brand new groomer drag's tow bar and bend it up. Bend it up that angle to try and get the hitch height they're looking for. Right now the problem is with the current hitch height, the cutting blades do not get all the way to the ground. They are up in the air. They aren't going to do the job that they're supposed to be doing. So it needs to come down or else it's not going to work properly. Okay, since earlier, took a quick break, brought the brush guard in, let that thaw out. When I made these plates, I have some stock I had left over. I'm going to take and put them on either side, reinforce this some, make it nice and strong. So a 1/4 inch wall thickness on the tube, these are 1/4 inch thick. So I'll end up with a total of a 1/2 inch wall. I don't see that breaking anytime soon. I mean, I'm sure they're going to put it through some rough work, but still, they'd really have to jam on it, I would think. Well, I don't have to have this perfect, it's just need to get it close to center, get the edges so they're a little shy of the edges. Find my other clamp. Want to keep it nice and tight to the tube. So how many gaps? See, this plate's got a little flex to it. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it pulled in just a hair. So I mean, it's just stock I picked up at a local shop, scraps, but it works for this. So I'll find my gloves, I'll tack this in place, and we'll weld it in permanent. Sides all nice and tacked on. Both sides tacked on. I'm going to get the other side tacked on, and we'll weld it up. We're going to run a bead down either side, the bottom and across the top. Might even put a strap here on the top, just a little bit more reinforcement, but maybe. I'll decide that in a few. Okay, so you'll probably notice that that's new. So 2 nights ago, we were working on it. Club president stopped in. He looked at it. We wanted to try it with this original bend, and we found that it still was too high. So now what we've done is I've cut it again further. So I've gone back 16 inches from here to here, another 16 inches from there to there. This is a 18.5 degree angle. This one I haven't figured out yet. So this is an 18.5 degree notch, V-notch, cut out, bend it to mate, and then weld it up. This one here, I did the same 18 degree, well, it'd be 9.5 because I only did one side of it here. So then you have this mating surface. And then I took this angle and I actually started from the sharp edge and went back 3/4 of an inch to get this height. If you have this same drag and you're going behind a Tucker 1000, the distance from this bottom here to the bottom of the hitch is now 14 inches. And from our testing, what we found is that will allow this drag to go into the, on the front end for the blades, it'll allow the blades to go into the snow about 3 inches. They want to be able to cut into the moguls, stuff like that, if they want to be able to make the trails nice and smooth. So they wanted to be able to dig in a little bit if they needed to. 3 inches is not a lot, but apparently that's pretty big help. So initially with this bend, we were still, the blades were up probably an inch off the floor here. Now with this, we were actually able to set the blades all the way down on the floor here. With the hydraulics, unhook the pintle, and it raised the pintle just high enough that it was out of the hook, and you could drive the Tucker forward and disconnect the hydraulics. So you could, it's kind of handy the way it's set up now. If you're on a level surface, you could technically disconnect it as one person instead of having to have somebody in the back hold the hitch up while you drive out from under it, or have a jack here or something like that. It's worked out pretty slick. I liked it. They were happy with it, so I only welded it enough to be a temporary test. So now I've got to grind this down a little bit, finish welding this, smooth it up, and again I've gotten a couple of plates for it. We're going to put plates on either side to reinforce it. And what I found is for the orange, if you're looking for this color orange, it turns out I took some guesses. And I was guessing, okay, they're making this stuff for equipment. They're using a lot of tractor conversions up north. So I guessed that there was a good chance that this was actually Kubota orange. And as you can see, this is just one light coat, so you can still see a little bit of the metal in the background. But up here you can still see where I painted. Still can see through it a little bit, but if I get, say, 3 coats on there nice and even, it's the same exact color, really close to it. I have a hard time telling the difference. I don't think anyone's going to really notice. So Kubota orange seems to be the ticket. I'm betting if you got a blue one, it's probably New Holland. If you got a green one, it's probably John Deere green, so on and so forth. But yeah, so I'm going to get back to work on this. All right, back at it again. The hitch is pretty much all modified and ready to go for the Tucker 1000. Gonna take this bar, cut it to whatever length I need, notch it, and sister it to the factory rail. And get that, that's gonna be the mount for the cutter bar. I'll have to rig up the support going to the back rail, and then the other support that adjusts how much it tilts to this I-beam one way or another. This is the original part of the plan for this project. But like I said, I wanted to show anyone that has this model drag, this LN SNO-PAC, what this club's having to do to make it work on a Tucker 1000. So I'm going to start figuring this out and get started on it. Alright, so now I've got this piece cut up, notched out. It's 2x4 by 1/4 inch thick wall. See, I've just got it notched right here. I've got it notched in the back so it goes around. So now I just got to get the two to go together, weld it up, and then we're going to strip down the center. That'll make a really nice base for the brush bar to go on. It's going to be all connected, 2 different beams. It's fully out of the way of the spring, fully out of the way of the trip edge. I'm going to have a little trouble welding on the bottom edge there. I'll do what I can and see how it goes. Upside down welding is not my best thing, but as soon as I get that welded up, I'll cover the ends. That should work for that section. I'll just set you over in the corner so you can see what's going on. Where I'm going to call it a night. Got it all, got the plate on there, it's boxed in. I put a piece of 1 inch by 1/4 inch. I think it's 1 inch, it might be 1.5 inches. I don't know. Anyways, top strap on there, that ties it together nicely, and it also makes sacrificial material, so when I weld the pipes on that are going to hold it, the bars on that are going to hold it to the brush cutter, if you ever have to take them off, and instead of cutting into the actual frame of the groomer drag, you'll be cutting into this top strap. One, it makes it a little stronger, and it also makes it so you're not actually damaging the frame later if you wanted to modify it or something breaks or anything like that. So here's the finished setup. It's not super pretty, obviously, but it should take care of what the club's looking for. My plan is tomorrow weld a couple of pieces of round stock on and have the cutter bar pivot basically right in front of this angle. So it's going to be almost as wide as the drag. It's not going to be sticking out and catching onto trees as they go by, damaging them. Some landowners get a little upset about that, and I can't blame them. Scar up a tree, it can do some serious damage. But the rub rail out here should pass. The bar will be in here, nice. For mounting it, I ordered up the drag. The cutter bar is sorry about that. The cutter bar itself has 2 inch diameter by 1 inch through hole pipe on it. I bought some cold roll from McMaster Car. It's the same dimensions. I already cut a couple of pieces off for tomorrow morning. Worst case scenario, I have to put them on the lathe, bore them out a little bit. But it's a lot easier and cheaper to buy this cold roll stock instead of me buying solid stock, drilling it out, boring it out, messing around with that stuff. If you break a drill, you know, say you went out full diameter or close to it, say a 15/16, something like that. Yeah, I could resharpen it, but it's still more messing around versus the 5 minutes I just spent cutting this. And if you did break that drill, you're talking probably, I don't know, $50 to $60 for a new drill. This bar is 3 feet. Obviously, I'm not going to need this full 3 feet. Depending on how your brush cutter mounts, you might get away with just a foot. It came in 1 foot, 3 foot, 6 foot sections from McMaster Car. So I bought the 3 foot. Costs a little more, but I know I've got enough material and I'm not going to have to worry about running out, or if I make a mistake, I still have enough to redo it and fix it if I have to. So this stock, as of January 24, from McMaster Car to my door was, I want to say it was $150. So now I just cut it to length. I can clean up the ends on my lathe, weld those onto that sacrificial plate I was showing you with the pin through it and everything, and get it so this bar will mount on. Once this bar is mounted on, then I can figure out the back angle support and the side angle support that controls how far up or down it is from the side of the drag. The back angle is going to end up going to the back frame rail there, and the height adjustment is going to go over here on this I-beam somewhere. I haven't fully figured that out yet, but it shouldn't be too hard to figure that out. I don't know yet if I'm going to go to the top of the I-beam or the bottom of the I-beam. There's a lot of material there to support it one way or another. The side support I'm not super concerned about. The back support that's going to be supporting if you hit something with the bar, you know, say you accidentally hit a large branch or tree, that's where it's going to take the most brunt of the hit, along with the side rail here. So I want to make sure that's good and strong back there, however I mount it. And on this drag, compared to their old one, I believe this brush bar, the back angle support is going to have to be shortened. I believe it's a shorter distance, but it should still work just fine. Instead of maybe being a 45, maybe it'll be more like a 30-degree angle, but it'll still work. Ideally, they're only supposed to take off small branches. Hopefully that's all they actually do. Anyways, I'm going to call it a night. Guess I'll see you in the morning. Okay, morning. I already took the tube stock, put it on the lathe, turned it down to length, and then I found that the bore was actually about a 16th, not a 16th, sorry, a 64th undersized, about 15/16 thousandths, to have the pin slide freely in and out of the hole. The The bore of it was like 995. The pins are 1 inch, a little over 1 inch, maybe a 1 inch 5,000, somewhere in that ballpark. So I opened them up so it would slide through the round stock freely for mounting and all that. So what I did this morning was I added 2 little strips of 1/4 inch underneath the pipe. You can't really see it with the welds now. So that raises it up, so when the brush cutter's in here, it's got space between the bottom of the diameter and where the pin mounts, so it gives it plenty of room to move. Instead of binding up, because they're both the same diameter, these tube stocks and the tube stock that's on the brush cutter. So I welded those in this morning. When I welded them on, I had the pin going through them. They did tighten up a little bit, so it's probably out of alignment a little bit. All I did for alignment was this piece here was measured from the beam over, front and back, to keep that even. It's within 1/16 of an inch. So I took a square and I measured off this side wall to the side of the round stock here to get those even. As you can see, there's still plenty of space here where it's not protruding past the outside rail. The bar is going to go back between these two and should give it enough room that if they come up against a tree, it's going to slide past without hitting anything here. It's relieved either way. So once this cools down a little bit, I'll get the brush bar on there, mount it, and then the next step is to figure out where the support needs to go back there. Hopefully that's easy enough to understand on how I'm doing this. But yeah, on to the next step. Alright, so I'm back at it again. Last night we had a couple of club members stop over. They helped me put the bar in place, and we also were able to get the support in place. We welded it down here on the frame, did a 1/4 inch spacer like I've been doing, then the slightly modified round stock. As you can see, we got a nice pin right through there. It's all mounted up, good and solid. I've got to replace this hook for their chain. Other than that, it's pretty solid back and forth that way. My spacing on the 2 bushings, because there's a big weld from whoever welded this, I left it a little gapped. I might throw a washer or something in there, or maybe I should have ground that down, but either way, that bar is where it is. Without help, I'm not taking that off again. I don't know how much this bar weighs, but it's all there, and it's not even the full size. Originally it was another 1.5 to 2 feet longer. Anyways, what we decided was, this is where it was mounted for the rear support. So I'd go from here down to the back rail originally, but originally on the old drag they had the bar further forward, which made it, I'm pretty sure it would make it tippier, because you didn't have any support directly under the weight. You had it out over the front. Kind of like if you had a trailer, you had your rear axle here, your tongue up there where you're hooked to your vehicle. You wouldn't put all your weight on that front corner because it's going to tip. It's going to pivot on this tire and your hitch and tip. But if you had the weight over your axle like you would, you know, your snowmobile or 4-wheeler or whatever you got, it's not going to tip. So this bar right now is just barely back far enough when the blade's almost straight up like it is. There's about 3/4 of an inch clearance from the outside of the rail to the tip of that cutting bar. I did not plan on that as much as I thought I did. I thought this was more centered, so it would have put it further back, but as you can see, it's right on the center of this 2x. So it could have, if this had been welded on towards the back of the pipe where for some reason I was thinking it was, would have been even better, but this will work. It has clearance, so even in this position, you go down the trail, you're not going to hurt the landowner's trees. If anything, it's just going to, the rub rail is just going to rub and push the drag out of the way. So we decided on this, instead of having such a high pitch angle from here in the back up to here, we decided to make 2 new mounts, which I welded on last night. And that's going to go basically a 45 or close to it from here down to this corner of the drag. And so the plan is to take this piece here that I already relieved for the weld on the drag. It's almost a 45, it's pretty close, it's not perfect. But anyways, take this, put it down here in the corner, like this, weld that in, and then put a plate on the top, and then have, so that's tying in this lower beam, this back beam, and this side beam. And I'll be able to put a plate in here and put 2 round stock rings for the last anchor point to mount. I would like it to be further out this way, I guess, but then I'd end up interfering with this pin mount down here, so I ended up putting it a little tighter. I think that'll still work fine. I'm going to try to keep it almost in line with the other one back here, the main mount, so that way it's easy for it to pivot. It's also going to be a stronger support if the more in line it is, obviously, instead of having a bent angle and having it bend out like that. It's just going to be a straight on force. I've got the corner brace all finished. The bushings are welded on. The corner angle brace is welded on. That's a 3/8 inch plate. I already have the bar welded up. I cut it down to length, welded it up, mounted it, and I cut it until it just barely fit, tacked it, and then I brought it over here, and I finish welded it. So that should be all set, ready to go. I'm just going to clean up a bit tonight. I'm going to paint this bar up real quick, just enough to make it look decent, or look better than it does. I'm going to clean up that bar, paint that real quick, and the same with the corner, just to make it look a little nicer. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's a brand new piece of equipment. Try to make it look a little nicer before the club takes it out for its first use. But yeah, once that's done, hopefully the next part I'll be showing you the finished product and having it ready to go. Here's the whole thing all finished and mounted. Got a little play in the pins, obviously. Should have a little bit of play. So it's all mounted solid to the main rail. Added on a new hook for the chain here, so that's got a limiter strap on it. This all is pinned together good, cotter pins here. All I could buy at Tractor Supply were these tractor style 1-inch pins. They should work fine, but that's all pinned on in the back. As you can see, it's like a universal joint. It goes 2 different directions, allows it so you can fold it over. Same with this one up here. But yeah, I think that ought to work fine. I think it came out pretty good. I sprayed some blue paint on it just to make it look a little nicer on this new drag. But yeah, we'll have to see how it looks out on the trails out behind that Tucker pretty soon, I guess. But yeah, hopefully this helps somebody on assembling. Again, it's a SNO-PAC MT84DT groomer drag. The only thing left is rerunning these hoses to the front and putting the wiring connection on there, and then I think this drag's pretty much ready to hit the trails if we ever get some snow. Alright, that's it. It's all hooked up, it works fine. There's still some air to get out of the lines, but other than that, it's ready to go. All hooked up nice. It looks good. Well, that's all it. It's all hooked up, ready to rock and roll. I don't know if you could hear me when I was talking over by the Tucker. I'm letting it warm up, run it a little bit. Got to figure out where to park it out of the way. But yeah, those modifications should help it take care of the trails for the club. Thanks for watching it. Let me know if this helped you at all. Again, it's a Tucker 1000 2000 model with a brand new MP84DT drag.